Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dinar in Depth. Quick reminder, this is for entertainment and discussion purposes only, not financial advice. Today, we're digging into Iraq's National Development Plan and what it might signal for the future. So this plan was put together by Iraq's Ministry of Planning with support from the United Nations Development Program. It was officially launched by Prime Minister al-Sudani in 2024. It's a long document, about 180 pages, and it outlines 13 major objectives for Iraq's economic future. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them, but a couple really stood out to me. The first one is accelerating digital transformation. If your mind goes where mine goes, you're probably thinking about the idea of a digital dinar that we talked a little bit about yesterday. This is a positive step. They're building the rails. Another big objective that stood out to me is they're wanting to strengthen international partnerships. One example is involvement from companies like ExxonMobil in major oil fields like Majnoon. Now, we know Iraq's economy is still heavily dependent on oil. 90% of its budget comes from it. But here's what's interesting. Iraq wants to increase oil production up to 6.5 million barrels per day. Currently, before the Strait of Hormuz backed up in the Iran conflict, they were averaging 4 million barrels per day. So 6.5 million barrels per day is a substantial increase, but they want to increase oil production while decreasing and reducing dependence on oil overall. At first, it sounds contradictory, but it is actually strategic. They're going to use oil revenue in the short term. They're investing in infrastructure, jobs, other sectors. They're building a balanced economy over time. This is how long-term growth happens. Iraq is doing it. Let's talk about recent developments. We've had tensions in Iran. We've had disruptions around the Strait of Hormuz. It's obviously a critical route for global oil shipments. It's created some short-term setbacks, but here's the good news. Iraq has resumed oil exports through its pipeline with Turkey, Ceyhan, after I think a 3-year hiatus. It's a big deal because it gives Iraq an alternative route and reduces reliance on a single choke point. Even with recent challenges, moderate economic growth continues around 3 to 4%, and they show relatively stable conditions considering these circumstances. They are really in close proximity to this conflict. They are directly impacted currently, but Iraq is showing major resilience. The direction to me is pretty clear. Iraq is working on diversifying its economy. They are improving infrastructure. They are expanding global partnerships. They are modernizing their financial system. These are all strong positive indicators for long-term growth. So let's talk about the big question, which is the dinar. A lot of people are watching for a shift in value. And when you look at everything we just covered, you can start to see why. What stands out to me is that Iraq is putting all of the pieces in place. They're strengthening the economy. They're improving all of their financial systems. They're building stability. These are the fundamentals that support a stronger currency. Iraq is building momentum, and as that momentum grows, it creates favorable conditions to support and sustain a revalued dinar. I'm not looking at one single moment. I think it's really about watching the bigger picture come together. And right now, all of the pieces creating that picture are moving in a positive direction. So overall, I feel really good about where things are heading. There are always challenges, geopolitics, oil markets, the obvious regional tensions, but despite those factors, Iraq continues to make progress. This is really remarkable. They are not standing still. They're actively developing. They are expanding. They are positioning themselves for long-term growth. That's what we want to see. If they stay on this path, I think the future is looking really promising, not just for their economy, but for everything and everyone connected to it. Let me know what you think. If there are other events or sources you want me to dig into, drop them in the comments, and I will see you next time on Dinar in Depth.